need to be ready to smile. You don't know when suddenly, Joe at the back end will say, it's finished. The video is finished, done. Good morning, Malar.
Good morning. I'm matching my top with your background.
Yes. You're matching the top with the background, correct. You're matching me also in my coloring. Yeah. Are you feeling better?
You'll know throughout the... Yeah. I think the fact that I can show up, I'm grateful that I can show up today. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's good because our guest is not just a guest, is also a good friend of both of us, right? So it's good that you showed up.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do the hello Malaysia, hello Singapore. We already kind of done that. I'm going to start an introduction of Syahrul. Do the formal bit, and then also tell you a little bit about the informal bit. Yeah. So Syahrul is one. Well, I'm just going to put it in a summary. Syahrul is one of the leaders leads in L&D these days in corporate, who didn't start really in corporate, but kind of went over from the dark side to the light side, as I usually say, right? So he was in our space, Malar, and then he moved into corporate, and he worked in different roles in talent management, HRBP partnership. He's also an accredited coach with Marshall Goldsmith as well, and I'm looking at his profile right now. Marshall Goldsmith, as well as what's the other one? The Global Coach Group. Okay, and which is a kind of a reason why we thought about Syahrul when we thought about coaching, right? As a theme for today's session. And now he's country lead for Accenture Malaysia, specifically in learning and leadership development. Yeah. On a personal note, as I said, Syahrul is a friend of both of us. We've worked with him before, and it's my pleasure, and I'm sure your pleasure too, Malar, to bring him on and have a chat with Syahrul about coaching and how it works in Accenture Malaysia. All right, let's bring Syahrul on. Let's see. Oh, there he is. Good morning, Syahrul.
Good morning. I'm trying to make sure my smile is okay enough, because whenever there's Sham and Mala in the room, when they smile, they bring light to the room.
He already started, Eddie. Okay. Because you see, you have the biggest screen. We got two small ones.
Right. I hope you can hear me okay. My voice isn't exactly 100% back yet.
No worries. Good, loud and clear. I'll prompt you if we can't hear you or we missed what you said. Okay. So congratulations. I hear that you guys in Accenture Malaysia won an award. Tell us a little bit about that, Syahrul.
Yeah, I mean, we've been going after awards for the last couple of years now, and many different awards in that sense. But this is the first time we'll be submitted an award specifically for coaching. And we won a silver award for executive coaching in Malaysia, right? This was about a month ago now, right? When we won that. And it was a really proud moment for us, because executive coaching, the way we did it, and what we wanted to achieve, and when we put it out to the industry for to see what people think about it, right? So to get that recognition was really, really a proud moment for us as a team in HR in Malaysia as well. Yeah.
And why was it proud? Why was it a proud moment? You said it's a proud moment. Why was it a proud moment?
I think because we were trying to do something different. Even in Accenture, it's not been done in this part of the world yet. Coaching has always been part of Accenture, and we actually have many different forms and many different the way of delivering it. So we've got an internal coaching team in Accenture, which provides coaching across any levels of leadership, which who needs coaching, right? And it's mostly self-nominated. We've also tied up with a third-party startup company out of San Francisco, who has an app for coaching, which allows people to just sign up with coaches around the world, right? Certified coaches around the world in any areas that they want, right? Be it around leadership, be it around presentations or communications, negotiations, sales, even things like wellness, right? So these are things that people can get coached on. But when we looked at what we wanted to happen here in Malaysia, Malaysia is a very interesting market in the way we've been set up. So our leaders here need to do things differently. And as part of our strategy 2025, when we did a quick assessment in terms of what we wanted to be able to do. On top of looking at the processes and the culture, we wanted to make sure that our leaders are fully supported in making this transformation for themselves and also making transformation for Accenture as a whole in Malaysia. So as we put this experience together, putting it out there and getting recognition from our peers, that's what makes it even more exciting, and to get that recognition from our peers. Because as an organization, we do things, our stakeholders are happy with it, participants are happy with it. But I think the cherry on the top is when you see your peers who know exactly what you're trying to do and see it and recognize it, and that's what we're very proud of.
I'm a little bit of a skeptic. Okay, my post yesterday talked a little bit about that skepticism, right? So I'm not entirely convinced about coaching. All right. So my follow-up question would be, were you always pro coaching? And I follow up to that. So there's two questions, right? So one was, have you always been pro coaching? And the follow-up question to that is, was the team, the executive team that you were, targeting, was there pushback? Were they all entirely bought into the idea of coaching? So it's no longer now, while it was, like you said, a volunteer system, yet it's a system that it's being put out there. And, it's not something like you said, it's like now we have all of this, you go access it yourself. But here you're saying for this purpose, for this strategy to work in 2025, by 2025, this is something that we've put in place, right? So it's a little bit more purposeful, if you will. I'm going to use the word that you used earlier on. So so those two questions. Have you always been pro coaching? And you be honest, I know, okay. And what was the pushback that you had, if any, from the executive team?
Have I always been pro coaching? I've never not been in that sense, right? But I think I was lucky in the sense that when I started to learn about coaching, it was about how to coach. My first experience with coaching was not being a coachee, right? So when I understand the process, I understand the experience that you're trying to create as a coach and your role as a coach. When I first went through a coaching engagement, I knew how to play my part and how to get the most out of that process. Right? So
as a coachee,
because I know what the role of coach is supposed to do, so I know what my responsibilities are. So when I entered into that coaching engagement, it was okay, right? It's always about the chemistry you have with your coach anyways, right? Whatever it is. But I was lucky enough to say that. Now I've got some pretty good coaches in the past, right? So when we talk about pushbacks, and all, well, I need to relook at the people that we have, but most of the leaders that were on this particular experience we put together have had a coaching experience before. So how do we show that this is different? Right.
Hmm.
So there were many rounds of conversations, many iterations in terms of where we started with in terms of what we wanted to offer and what we eventually came up with. Right. We started with a typical coaching engagement. We engaged a third-party provider, of course, a group of really, really good, qualified, certified coaches who had similar corporate experiences to our um, folks that were put through the program. Right?
Hmm.
And that was an important credibility piece. That was an important um, comfort level that we wanted to give our leaders to say that, hey, you're talking to people who have gone through it, number one, and now they're coaching people on it. Right? And they've got a series of portfolio of coaches that's similar to yours. So we need to give them confidence that people that we are pairing you up with, or that you the selection you have of people are qualified to be the one that's coaching you. That's really important. Right? And number two was the process itself. So first of all, we didn't call it a process. Number one. Number two, we didn't call it a program. Right? We called it an experience. We called it a journey. We called it something that you're going to go through. So a couple of big things we feel was different in terms of our process, in terms of my own experience in coaching engagements as well, was the involvement of a mentor as a third neutral party in the process. Right? So typically, I think when you talk about coaching engagements, you have the coach, you have the coachee, and you probably have the boss or slash supervisor in the process to give feedback, so on and so forth, right? We looked at where we are as as an organization and where we wanted to offer to our leads. We said, nope, we're going to keep this purely developmental, nothing performance related. And the best way for that, after several rounds of conversations, was to remove their bosses from the process. So it was just the coachee, the leads, right? The coach, and their mentor. And the reason for the mentor, the role of the mentor is we clarify here is that role of the mentor is to do two things for you. You have somebody that you trust, that you can talk to, give you guidance, who is authentically involved, interested in your development and you. That's number one. Number two, this person must have an understanding or context of the Accenture culture in our world, right? And the pressures that come with the role and things like that, right? So the coach's role is to help you think things through, make sure you go through the process, drive you through the process. The mentor's role is to help you give you guidance and also give you context, right, in terms of the environment that you're working in. So those are the, I think, important things that we put into place that help make that elevate that experience from a typical coaching engagement that you usually might have. Excuse me. So on top of that, of course, the measurements we put into place. We needed to make sure that there is a baseline assessment, and also there was an end assessment. Again, this was also private and confidential, where the coaches will select their own raters. We gave them a guideline, of course, a combination of peers and their reports. Right? We didn't ask for bosses. We didn't do a 360, right? Because I think as leaders, your main clients or your main stakeholders are your peers and especially your direct reports. Right? So that's how we did it. It was kept ultimately anonymous. And that's how we kept the measurements in place. Right? And then some of the other things we also have was we had regular check-in sessions with the group to kind of like keep them on track. So, hey, you've done your first coaching session. This is next one's coming up. Or we also have these triangulation sessions where the coach, the coachee, and the mentor will get together. And the main basis of that conversation is basically, hey, how's it going? What support is needed? right?
Mm.
To recognize any progress or as well as to call out any challenges, right? That we need to talk about as a team. So throughout the whole process, uh, as an organization, how we wanted to make sure that the coaches experience, they feel thoroughly supported throughout it. Um, and I think support is one. Number two is they feel safe and secure in that process,
Mm. Mm.
so that they can be authentic, they can be real with an experience, and focus
Mm.
on things that they want to grow as a leader. Because we think that once these leads have those shifts, they feel that things are different, that they do make some, get some, put some actions together to move towards a transformation
Mm.
that will eventually be cascaded down into their teams, to their projects, right? And visually, their teams can see like, hey, my MDs are looking at things differently, right? So it's
Mm.
just not another program that we put people through. That was very
Mm.
important for us to make sure that they feel that it's different and that people from the outside can also see that it's different.
Mm. But so um you keep highlighting the fact that it's different, right? It was important for you to make it different. Um, why was there a need to make it different? Why was it? What was what was either the problem or the challenge, or what was special about the cohort or the culture in Accenture Malaysia that needed you to make it different?
So um, we've, I'd say, I'm working with, you guys have had him on the show before, um, a country managing director. Is the most exciting guy I've ever worked with in my life, in my corporate life, right? His ambitions, his aspirations, and that's felt across the
Mm.
leadership, right? Um, but we know to be able to fulfill those ambitions and aspirations, we need to do things differently. Okay? People need to know that we're doing things differently, to feel that it's different. Right? That's one. Number two, like I said, Accenture and coaching, it's not new. We've got
Mm.
so many different coaching interventions available for people. And okay, yeah, he does this all the time. Yeah. Uh, see, I've lost my thought. Thanks, Az.
You have
And
coaching and you have lots of coaching that's available
we
to
do,
everyone.
we
Yeah.
have a different, and like I said, the cohort, a lot of them have gone through coaching before.
Mm.
So we didn't want him to come in and say, I've gone through it already. How is this going to be different? I think I know what coaching is, right? But as a matter of fact, when we started to have this conversation, we presented it. Um, it even went up to the Southeast Asia leadership levels to get a buy-in and conversations on, right? So everybody was on board. So and when they started to go through it, those who have gone through coaching sessions before started to see that it's different, right? I think this is more engaging. I find that I get to um, reflect more, or I find that there's a lot more movement in terms of
Mm.
the way I think and the progress, right? So, and I think that's because we focused a lot on that experience. And we
Mm.
focus a lot on saying, and we probably say it so many times that this is about your development. It's not about Accenture. It's not about the numbers. We want to see you shift, because when you shift, everything else will move, right?
Mm.
Because you guys are at that at the pivotal roles, right? But yeah, so I think they took that on. I think people came on with an open mind, because we use words like, this is an experience, it's an experiment. You guys did the pilot group.
Mm.
You're expected to give us feedback, and from the learning and HR team, also we also had those platforms and check-in sessions to make sure that people could give us feedback. in terms of their process as well. So we didn't just leave it to the third party to manage it. So we were fairly involved. But at one end, we had no idea what they talked about as well, because we kept it really private and confidential.
And I like that idea of psychological safety. One of the things that fuels, I think, a lot of pushback from about coaching, and this is my opinion, I think, from my observation and experience, is that lack of trust, if you will, about what's going to happen with those conversations. Where is it going to go? Where is it going to be fed back to? And perhaps even the culture, right, within the organization, that coaching is being practiced. Maller's throat is a little bit better, so she said she's going to ask you the next question.
Okay.
I won't say my throat is better, but I cannot tahan already. Being silent for such a long time. Especially when Azwan say wake up, I think I also woke up. Syahrul, I'm not sure whether I've missed the bit, right? I think you gave us a lot of golden nuggets as to why it's different, right? So, and you're saying a lot of things that's different for me, from where coaching is heading, right? And you're talking about this is the top leadership level, right? Now, you keep saying that, or I keep hearing you saying that, we actually have an objective, and that's why we need our leaders to be transformed to achieve that objective.
Yes.
All right. And so, what is the main object? Is the main objective of transformation performance results? What is this transformation that you're looking for in these leaders?
It's a lot of things. I can't say it's one thing, right? You see, we are so right now Accenture. So there's I think Accenture itself in Malaysia is going through a transformation, right? And a lot of the transformation is driven by the market, it's driven by the business, but also it's driven by the new types of people that have come into the workforce, right? So we're changing the way we look at things, and also because it is a very tough place to be, right? In consulting. I wouldn't say that it you compare it to other industries, it's the toughest one it is, but it's one of those high pace, very performance oriented, very high demand in terms of client expectations, and such a big brand that when our clients hire Accenture, they expect the best, better than the best. Right? That's how much pressure our leaders have to deal with. So, and of course, the way that we've been functioning in the past, I have to say, it does create a very unhealthy environment, right? In the sense that we're pressuring people, we're pushing people really hard, right? And this idea of well-being and wellness was not really part of the consideration. So one big transformation we wanted to do was to ensure that our leaders, right, look at themselves as role models and start to walk the talk a little bit more with regards to wellness and well-being. Right? Work needs to be fun again, right? Work needs to be meaningful again, purposeful. Right? So although we're talking about coaching today, but if you look at where Accenture is headed in Malaysia as an organization, we are becoming more purposeful. We are becoming more focused in terms of we want to be part of this nation building exercise in Malaysia. Right? One of the things that I really like, and Azwan said this a couple of months ago, was that we wanted to be the center of talent for the world. We wanted to produce Malaysian talent, the best of Malaysian talents, and feed it to the world because we believe we've got that here. Right? And to be able to do that as a leadership cohort, as a leadership team, we needed to function differently. We need to have a shift in our mindset. We need to be able to look at people and talent differently. And that's one aspect of the transformation we need to have, right? And also from another level of transformation is to look at us, Malaysia, as a team. So in a lot of similar organizations like Accenture, where it's a matrix organization, a lot of people link to their offerings. So in Malaysia, we've got Accenture Strategy and Consulting, we've got technology, we've got interactive, which is now rebranded as Song. Right? We've got operations, right? And all of these pillars actually report to different leaders at a market level, right? So the Southeast Asia market and things like that. So that creates a very fragmented leadership in Malaysia.
Mm.
So people started to just look at their teams, right? They don't look at Malaysia as a whole, which makes it really hard for us to create this new culture that we want to do in Malaysia because the pressures are coming from somewhere else, right? So that transformation also something we looked at is that it's not just about you and your team, but we're looking at Malaysia as a whole, right? And it's something that I think we've been able to do here in Malaysia, where we've created these pods working together, trying to create better meaning and purpose and focus on well-being here in Malaysia. We coined this culture transformation called Bersama, where we wanted to come together. Bersama just means together, right? So together,
Yep.
right? And to build this Malaysia together. So these are the ones, Mala, that we were pushing for. These are the bigger broad strokes, but as an individual, as a leader, you need to make those shifts first, and that's where we started. Well, I wouldn't say we started, but that's what we worked on.
Nice. So, Syahrul, what I'm hearing from you, and I'm really excited with your answer, because is that what you're saying is that while where your organization has been performance oriented, right now the transformation you're looking for is that because you have objectives to achieve, what you're saying is that you want your leaders to role model that. So you're just not focused on the outcomes as to what you deliver, all right? But you seem to be you're focused on how it's done, and the how, the transformation that you're looking for in the how is you want to do it. That means we want to achieve the results or better results, but let's look after ourselves. And I think what is exceptional here is the fact that you are getting the leaders to role model that, because that's the most difficult thing to do, I think, because it's easy to say, look after yourself, have a work-life balance and all of that. But as a leader, if I don't role model that, it's very difficult for people to feel safe to do that for themselves, right? And if I know how to do that for myself, I would then be able to show my people how to do that for themselves, right? Because in my role, if I'm able to do that, I will know the anxieties and the challenges that I'm experiencing in letting go. And to successfully do it is where you create the happy work culture. Right? So I think that's huge. And the other thing that I thought was also very interesting in what you said is the feeling, the needing psychological safety for people, right? And I think what's a big aha for me, and kudos to you and Azwan, is that the fact that we are saying that even leaders at this level need to feel safe.
Yes.
And not many people acknowledge this, there's an assumption that the higher you go up, psychological safety is a given. And the fact that you take that into consideration in your whole, transformational program, it's an affirmation that this is one of those things that we have to put in place for any transformation to happen. I think we know this by the book, but I think I'm not too sure whether we practice it in real life. So I thought that was fantastic. Okay, Sham, I know you have a question.
Yeah, I want to add, not a question, but I want to add on to what you had said earlier before you brought in your thoughts around psychological safety. That the leader has to model well-being and wellness in order for the leader to be able to then, see the same or do the same for their teams, right? There's another nuance to it. The leader needs to also model well-being and wellness to make. Sometimes the leader does it for the team but doesn't do it for themselves. The team feels guilty. The team now needs to, has to work through guilt because, hey, my leader is doing all this for me, but for herself or himself, they're not doing it, right? And I'm not. It's almost as if I've let go of this burden, and the burden is now on my leader's shoulder. So there's that little that dynamics in the reverse that I thought is important to share based on our pre warm up session from what Syahrul shared yesterday. Syahrul, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, interesting you brought that up again because it was a realization for one of our leads who as I mentioned, excuse me, as part of the experience, right? We made sure that they got feedback from their direct reports throughout the process. So at the beginning, this particular lead got feedback from her direct report saying that, oh, she's a great leader, she's doing this, and she always takes care of well-being. But you know what? She doesn't role model it. She doesn't take time off. We see her working 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night, on calls and things like that. But she's telling us to get off and things like that. She was quite shocked with that feedback in the sense that, number one, my people are watching me. Number two, they are seeing where the differences are, right, in terms of what they're saying and what they're doing. So she made a conscious effort to change all of that, taking time off, going for when in Accenture Malaysia, we in the last 6 months we put into place sort of like an SOP thing where no more calls after 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, that's it, right? No more calls. If you reject calls after 7, there should be no question about it. If you want to take calls, it's fine. We don't encourage it. But if you reject calls, there should be no question why you should reject these calls. It's fine. So these things put into place, right? So when this lead had her post feedback from a direct report, so it was positive. So there was changes. So she's done enough that her team can see the changes. And to be fair, there was a lot of things that she had to deal with in that 6 months that she was coaching. In terms of what's happening at work, fires she need to resolve and things like that, right? So obviously this feedback has put that front and center for her to work on, right? And we've been with the coaches and the conversations with the mentor, I guess she's found ways to change certain things, make some conscious decisions about what she should be focusing on and when she just needs to let go, right? And that also has resulted in her actually forming a team of people to look at development for her particular pillar as well, and kind of like giving away some of these responses that she's held for herself because she felt it was something that she had to hold on to and get more people involved in it as well.
You want me to ask the questions, Malar, or you're okay?
Thanks. Syahrul, nice one. You know well-being, and then moreover you say she, right? Get more excited.
In Accenture Malaysia, 50% of our leads are female at the highest level. So we have a target to ensure we keep that. We're just not as successful at the lower levels at the moment, but it is a target we're trying to get for.
At the rate you are talking, and you make me want to apply for a job in Accenture. You know?
No. As one knows, the two of us. I mean, I know I'll never get in. I'm just saying.
No, but that's how much of positive marketing that goes into it. Okay, I'm very curious, right? I'm curious about the process. Because what I'm getting from all that you say is that the leaders are getting feedback. So did the leaders choose the area that they want to work with first, and then got the people to give them feedback, or based on the feedback, the leaders chose the area of change?
Okay, so in Accenture, we have our leadership principles, right? So we've got 6 leadership principles. So we've got one that says you need to care deeply about our people. Number 2, it says always do the right thing. Number 3, it's about inclusion and diversity. Right? Number 4 is about being a true partner. Number 5 is around client centricity. Right? And number 6 is about courage to change. Right? So the feedback mechanism that we put into place at the start was around these 5 areas. And based on this feedback, the leads will choose one area to work on in that 6 to 8 months, and that is with conversations with the coach as well as their mentor. So they decide, right? And it's not necessarily you work on a gap, right? You work on what you are passionate about. You work on what you feel will make the most difference for you. Because whatever that you work on, it will have a trickle-down effect to your teams. Right? That was the premise of what we were thinking about, right? Any shifts at that level of leadership will shift the team as well.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
actually, in the spirit of private and confidential, we don't know what they worked on. we don't. That's how secure we wanted it to be, right? And they're asked, "Do we send you the raters?" No, you guys gonna forward the link to who the raters are, and you get the results directly from the survey administrator. So we don't even know the results in that sense. So we were really serious about saying that this is safe, it's secure. It's just about UA development. Yeah.
You reminds me how you all have brought into very important element of authenticity and acceptance coming together. That I have the freedom, free to be me. That means I choose the areas that I think is important, because who else will know what is important for me, and who's going to be more committed to a cause than me choosing my own cause, right? So I think that part, and acceptance as to the fact that whatever choice I make, I will still be made to feel safe. And I love the way you all have tightened up the process to guard these things, and because I think a lot of us know about it, but I think to sacredly guard these things to ensure that people feel safe is really very important. And my absolute joy is the fact that we're doing it for the top leaders, because I think, Sham, when we started this show, the objective of our show is that we were feeling very strongly that good leaders are not looked after well, because because there's so much of expectation on leaders that it is only the good leaders who would work very hard to meet all the expectations, go above, at the risk of their own well-being, because they're very committed, and they tend to burn out, right? Because the not so good leaders can't be bothered. They will know how to get the results through people, but they look after themselves, right? So we wanted to, we really wanted to bring in practitioners for leadership in flow to say that how do we, get performance and happiness to come together? There is a space, of course. That's the flow state. And what you've described is exactly that. And I think, Sham, through to our team, even before we can ask the question to Syahrul, right? He has brought us back to the why, the purpose, right? And how you have brought all of this together. The seed seem to be your corporate values, going back to why we do what we do. What's the purpose of us doing this? And if we want to achieve this purpose, what are the changes? What are the small changes that's going to make a big difference that I need to keep making so that I can lead it? So that's what I thought. It was a brilliant way. You seem to have put a lot of things together, tighten a lot of things by again focusing on the purpose line, right, Cham?
Yes, I think, and to add to that, there's one thing that you did that for me stands out. You talked about how Accenture as an organization is built around these pillars, right? And the pillars are almost independent of each other. They have a reporting system, reporting structure that's out of Malaysia, right? And so you created a purpose that is, in a way, supersedes that individual pillars, that purpose of drawing talent to Malaysia, creating the talent in Malaysia, and and sending it out, right? And that seems to have resonated with, at least from what I'm hearing, resonated with the people in Accenture Malaysia. My next question is going to go back to performance, actually. All right. So I want to see. I want to talk about the experiment that you went through, the experience, that journey. It was 6 months. It was with one cohort. We know that it was not everyone in that position, the target position, to volunteer for that pilot program, right? Our pilot session. You have a 2025 goal to achieve, right? It's 6 months. So, and we also know in terms of behavior change needs a lot of reinforcement, a lot of support in order for what you've seen in the pre and post, right? The changes in the pre and post to continue happening, right? That's one. Number two, it needs spread as well. The cohort, just that cohort is not going to achieve your 2025 strategy, right? So the question is, what's next? All right. Well, how is this pilot now being spread out? How is it being spread out? Is there any changes to that version? What's being done to get to, that's your goal, right? That's your target. That 2025 strategy is that target. So what's happening with that?
Yeah. I have to say, right, it's not all a bed of roses, right? I
Definitely.
think when we do this kind of conversations, we always talk about, yeah, it's great and things like that, but it's not all. And it's not, we haven't figured everything out, right? We haven't figured everything out. Let me just put it out there. At the same time, what we have done, it's not very efficient, right? What do I mean by that? Because there's a lot of focus, a lot of time making sure we create those environment where it's safe, making sure it's secure, right? So right now we're thinking about, okay, how do we scale this? Of course, right? How do we scale it? How do we get to that critical mass where this can happen? And on your note about behavior change, we're working on a couple of things parallel at the same time, all at different levels of development and maturity as well. Right? On a larger Malaysia level, as I said, we've introduced this bersama concept, where we're trying to um, put new ideas around what our culture needs to be, and we're still in the process of defining what that is, what the behaviors we want, right? That in hope that will change how people look at it, how our folks look at Accenture and the environment they're working on, so on and so forth. Right? Secondly, we're really looking our processes and how we do business, how clients look at us and in our relationships, how we go to market, what do we want to be known for, right? What work we take on, what work we don't take on, things like that, right? Hopefully that will change also the environment that our people are working in. Our leaders are leading in as well. So that is also a work in progress as well. And then from a development point of view, we are going to go ahead and tweak some of our processes with regards to this particular executive coaching program. Improve on it based on the feedback we get, some of the gaps, and then continue to offer it to this level of leadership. So we've got about, at the moment, I think about 30, 35 MDs, the top leadership here in Malaysia, various different scopes of work, right, on responsibilities. So we are going to offer it again to them for this focused kind of development. At the same time, we are focusing on the one level down, the senior managers who report to the MDs, and also look at their leadership development as well in a more focused way, aligned to, again, our strategy for 2025, right? And then the next level of leadership at the mid-level managers, we're also putting something together for them based on these leadership essential behaviors as well. And to take on these 11 people who were the first cohort's experiences and how do they share those experiences, we're going to ask them to help facilitate these leadership conversations with the senior managers and the managers as well, to kind of get that message out that things are a little bit different how we're doing things. Right? It is a structured thinking around how we want to do it, but the execution is going to be difficult. How we make this done in an efficient way. Right? But the thought is there, the strategy is there, and we're working things out. Right? Again, we're putting in ideas out, we implement it, we get feedback, we iterate, and that's how we're looking at it differently as well. Instead of trying to get a perfect program before we roll it out, that's going to take some time. And market will change, things will change, right? In that sense. We're also going big on mental wellness as an organization. Another award we won, we actually submitted our mental health network team, what we've done in 2022 to our Southeast Asia. We had this equality award in Southeast Asia, and Malaysia won, right? And we're going to go into global so we won for Southeast Asia, right? So there's a lot of different things that we're doing to change three things, right? To change the environment that our people are working in, to change the way we do work with our clients, because that is a major contributor to the environment. At the same time, enabling, equipping, empowering, all these powerful E words, right? To ensure that our leaders need support, skills, competencies, the right mindset, the right attitude to help propel the whole organization towards this dream that we have for 2025. And we get there in a fun, creative way together, right? Yes.
Nice. Before we close, I know Sham, closing question is usually one, but mine is going to be two short ones, right? Before I summarize. One is, what was the single most motivational factor for the leaders to sign on to this program? So if you looked at, because you offer it to everybody, the first pilot group, 11 take it up. So do you know what's that one thing that made them say, I'm going to sign up for this?
You know what? I've not asked them that question.
Okay.
But if I were to make a general assumption, is I think they all believe in this bersama, these ambitions, these aspirations, this vision that Azwan has painted for all of us, and they see their role in it, and that's why they want to work on themselves first to be able to.
Nice. Thank
Brilliant.
you.
Brilliant.
And when you look at post, now that they've been in this session for 6 months, and there has been transformation in terms of behavior, we've got feedback on behavior. Has this shifts in behavior, this transformations in behavior that you've got, did it lead to, can you see also changes in performance level or results?
I can't say that there is a direct correlation to that, right?
Nice.
But from a involvement, from a stepping up, if you look at that kind of performance in terms of making a difference in Malaysia, this cohort is leading some of our important initiatives for Malaysia, right? So that's my look at it in terms of, it's not just about the KPIs and the numbers at the end of the day, because that one, even without this, you have to deliver anyways, right? But when we look at Malaysia and how the team has come together, a lot of the initiatives are being led by these folks who have gone through this executive coaching session together.
Yeah.
So that's how
my
I
understanding. I don't know, Sham. I don't know whether I'm remembering it correctly. I don't know whether Azwan is still around. I think from the little I recall, I hope it's Azwan, that they actually overhit the numbers, right? So with Azwan's leadership, that's what I remember. I hope so. There's no worries about numbers, and I like your answer because I think in 6 months to see. So I wanted to just affirm for myself that it's not about the numbers, but rather the behavior and staying focused on the purpose and meaning that you've been talking about in the interview so far. So yeah, thank you very much, Syahrul. Thank you. And just a note to Azwan, if you're still listening, no, we won't apply for the job, but I will surely send good people your way because he put the lol.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering what the lol was
I
for.
want rejection with Azwan. I want to keep the relationship so that I can call him for more interviews. So Syahrul, thank you very much. I'm glad you found a leader that you really feel inspired by. And I can understand why, right? Because as you talk, we also feel inspired. So thank you for spending this morning with us. And, Sham, I think it's time to let him go.
Yes,
so that
yes, it is.
he can continue with his work. So thank you for giving us so much of deep insights that I would say that is different, yeah? So thank you. As we say goodbye to Syahrul, and no, we're not saying goodbye to Sham, only to Syahrul.
No, sure. I'm waving to Syahrul. I'm not waving to you.
Yeah. As we say goodbye to Syahrul, for those who have just joined us and who are thinking, maybe is this session worth listening to? Syahrul has taken us through why they won the award, and what's more important as to why they won the award is how they brought in safety. All right. Safety, and I would say, to bring out the authenticity in people, psychological safety for their top leaders, and also giving them freedom to choose while connecting them back to the original purpose as to what transformation they're looking for in 2025, and for leaders to be able to role model the change. So the shifts that they needed to make was very much, how do I become the person, all right, for us to achieve the transformational objective, knowing that this is a team that has always overachieved their numbers. So now we're not just, thinking, oh, you need to achieve the numbers, right? And I think they have done a lot of things that I believe is not normally heard of, which is create the safety, give them the freedom, focus on the experience and not the process, all right?
Yep.
And they're very, very cautious about using the right labels, and they guarded the boundaries of safety for these people by not even accidentally,
You're getting
involved.
in. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and all of it, is wrapped around the Bersama, right? And
Mm.
why we're doing what we're doing. So, how can coaching, so if we are thinking about coaching, how does coaching tie back to purpose? I think
Mm.
Accenture and Syahrul has very clearly demonstrated that any transformational exercise that we do, right, when we connect it back to purpose, or anything that we do, when we connect it to purpose, then we can stay, in line to actually achieve what we want to achieve. And the best
Mm.
thing, my most favorite thing is, what? They have not measured the results, because what they were measuring was the behavioral change needed for role modeling. And that itself is safety for me. So I don't know about you. If you realize my cough is better, must be the positive
Yes, yes,
dopamine
energy.
from
Right,
Syahrul
right.
and from Azman, right?
Yeah.
And with that, I think it was a great morning, Sham. Very, very
Yes, it
good.
was. For me, personally, over what you have said, and besides or beyond what you have said, is the joy in seeing the excitement and the energy and the engagement that Syahrul has, that I've not seen in him for a while now. So just that is a gift and a boost for the morning.
Of
So
course, Azman asked him to wake up.
yeah.
And think about
As long
this,
as
right?
just one. Yeah.
Think about it. How many heads of the country, how many country heads will
Leads, yeah.
show up
Yeah.
for a session like this? I think that also tells you how Azwan lives bersama lah. Anyway, I think that's just too much nice things about Azwan. It seems like, we're promoting him too much. All right. So with that, thank you very much. Stay safe. Take care till we meet you next week with another leader with a purpose. All right.
With a purpose in making a difference. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and have a good day. Bye-bye.